So the first thing we have to do is to look at the equation. There are two equations, and we look out for the letter that has the same coefficient, and definitely that's y, because we have a 3 and 3, same number. Next, you look at the sign right in front of it, the plus and minus. And when you have different sign, what that simply suggests is that you're going to add along the column. So if we add along the column, we're going to add 4 and 5x, we're going to get 9x. And of course, we add 3 and this and minus 3y, you get 0. And then, of course, you don't need to write it and put the equal sign. And then add 21 and 6, you get 27. And from here, it's quite easy to get x because divide 9 on both sides. So s is going to be 27, divide 9, and x is definitely going to be 3. Now, the next thing we need to do is to take this value, number x, and replace for x either in the first equation or x in the second equation. For me, I prefer to use the first equation because it's a lot easier. Make no mistake about this. If you use the first or second, you're still going to get the same answer, okay? But I like to take the first one because it's a very simple equation. So I take the first equation and I try to substitute that by saying 4 times 3. So 4 times 3 plus 3y, and that's equal to 6. And I know 4 and 3 is 12 plus 3y is equal to 6. And then I can subtract 12 on both sides. So 3y equals 6, take away 12, and write down this 3y. And 6 equal to 12 is minus 6. And to get y, I divide both sides again by 3. So y is definitely going to be minus 6 divided by 3. And of course, y is definitely going to be minus 2. So we know that the value for x is 3 and y is minus 2. So that's what you get when you solve simultaneously. In the second equation, we'll have a little bit of problem here because we can't solve directly here because you see there is no letter that has the same coefficient. Okay, so the only way we can do this is to solve it by having the letters have the same coefficient. And I can do that by multiplying 3 by 5 and multiply 5 by 3. But mind you, when you do that, you're not just only multiplying the coefficient for y, you're multiplying every number letter either in the first and in the second equation. So if I multiply the first equation, so I'm going to do that by 5 and multiply the second equation by 3. Now, when I do that, this is what the result. So 5 times 4x, that's going to be 20x. And 5 times 3y, that's 15y. And 5 times 19, that's going to give you 95. And then I'm going to multiply the second equation by 3. 3 times 3x, that's 9x. And 3 times minus 5y, that's minus 15y, equal, and 3 times 7 is 21. And now, if you look very carefully, you can see now the coefficient of y are the same. And then if you look at the sign, they have different sign, plus and minus. So that suggests to us that we're going to do something like subtract or add. I think what we're going to do is going to add, okay? So different sign is going to add. So if you add along the column, 20x plus 9x, you get 29x. And of course, it's 0, and put the equals. And 95 plus 21, you have 116. And to get x, you're going to divide 116 divided by 29. And if you do that, I think you're going to get 4. So we know x is 4. The next thing we need to do is to substitute this value of x either in this one, these two, or this one. But I think I'm going to use the first equation. Okay, but I'll write the second equation. I think the second equation is a lot easier for me to deal with. So I'm going to substitute this in the second equation for x. Okay, so I can get the value for y. So I'm going to replace x with 4. And then when I multiply that, let's see what that happens. So I'm going to have 3 times 4 minus 5y, and is equals to 7. And 3 and 4 is 12 minus 5y is equal to 7. And what we could do, okay, I can bring minus 5y on the other side and bring 7 to the other side. That makes it easier. So I'm going to have 12 take away 7, and that's equal to 5y. And of course, you know, if you subtract this, you're going to get 5, and that's equal to 5y. definitely y is going to be 5 divided by 5, and that's 1. So now we know that x is 4 and y is definitely going to be 1. In the next question, again, we see that the coefficient of y, none of for x either, have the same coefficient, but I can make the coefficient for y to be the same by just multiplying the first equation by 1 and the second equation by 2. Because when I do that, 1 times 4 is 4 and 2 times 2 is 4. So that takes care of the coefficient for y. So what I'm going to do, when I do that, I'm going to multiply that 1 times x, that's x, and 1 times 4y, 4y, and 1 times 5 is 5. And now I'm going to multiply the second equation by 2. 2 times 4x, that's 8x, and 2 times minus 2y is minus 4y, and 2 times 11 is 22. So the next thing I'm going to do is draw a line underneath, and then I can see the coefficient for y are the same and they have different sign. Now that suggests that I will be adding along the column. So when I add along the column, 8x plus x is 9x. Of course, this takes care of it, 0. And then I have 5 and 22. If I add, I get 27. And then x definitely going to be 27 divided by 9. So x is definitely going to be 3. So what I'm going to do next is to substitute this value x3 either in the first equation or the second equation. Now, whichever one I choose, I'm still going to have the same answer. Okay, so but I prefer the first one because it's a very simple equation. So if I substitute this, okay, in the first equation, so that's going to be like, let's say x is 3. So I go 3 plus 4y is equals to 5. And I can subtract 3 on both sides. So I'm going to have 4y is definitely going to be 5. Take away 3. And 4y is going to be 2. And to get y, I need to divide both sides by 4. So that's 2 over 4, which is the same thing if I cancel it down as 1/2. So in summary, I can say x is 3 and y is 1/2 or half. Now we have another one. Again, if you look at the equations, neither of the letters A and B have the same coefficient, but I can make them the same equation. Can make the letters have the same coefficient by multiplying the first equation by 5, because that will be 5b, and then multiply the second equation by 1, because that's going to be 5 times 1, that's 5. So what I'm going to do is to draw a line. Okay. Oh, did I say line? No, not a line. And then I'm going to multiply 5 by the first equation by 5. I'm going to have 5 times 2a, that's 10a. 5 times b, that's 5b. And 5 times 3 is 15. And multiply the second equation by 1. 1 times 4a, get 4a. And 1 times minus 5b is minus 5b. And 1 times 20, you get 20. So I'm going to draw a line. Now I can see that the coefficient for b are the same and they have different sign. That suggests that I'm going to do some adding along the column. So if I add 10a and 4a, I'm going to have 14a, and 5b plus minus 5b, well, that's 0, and they have the equal sign. 15 plus 20, that's going to give me about 35. And when I divide both sides by 14, I'm going to have a is going to be 35. Okay, let me write this in very well. 35 divided by 14, and that's going to give me 2.5 or 2.5. So what I'm going to do is to substitute this value either a for a in the first equation or a in the second equation, but I always want to use the simplest one where possible. So I'm going to use the first one, and I'm going to substitute this a with 2.5. So I'm going to have 2 times a, which is 2.5, plus b, and that's equal to 3. And then 2.5 times 2 is definitely going to be 5, plus b equal 3. And from here, I can subtract 5 on both sides. So I'm going to have b is equal to 3, take away 5, and definitely b is going to be minus 2. So in summary, a is 2.5 and b is minus 2. Here we have another question where none of the coefficients are the same, and I can make them, especially y, to have the same coefficient by multiplying coefficient 2, the first one by 3 and this by 2. That way we can make the coefficient for y to be the same. But remember, when you do, you're not just only multiplying y, the coefficient y, you're multiplying every letter, every number by that same number. So multiply the first equation by 3 and the second equation by 2. And when I do, I have 3 and 6x, that's going to give you 18x, and 3 and minus 2y. If you multiply, you have minus 6y, and 3 times 13, you have 39. And then multiply the second equation by 2, 2 and 2x, you get 4x, 2 times plus 3y, that's plus 6y, and 2 times minus 3, you have minus 6. And of course, now you're going to draw a line underneath, and then you look at the numbers carefully, you can see that y has the same coefficient with different different signs. So that suggests that you're going to add along the column. And if you add along the column, 18x plus 14 plus 4x, you have 22x. And of course, y takes care of itself. That's going to be 0. And then you have equals here. And if you add down this, you're going to get 33. And then, of course, if you divide this by, you're going to divide 33 by 22. So 33 divided by 22. I think 11 can go here 3 times. 11 can go here 2 times. Definitely, that's going to be 1.5. So what we do next is to substitute this value for either x in the first equation or the second. I think for me, I'll prefer to use the second equation. So if I substitute that, so I have 2x, that is 2 times 1.5 plus 3y is equals to minus 3. And if I multiply 2 and minus 5, I'm going to have 3 plus 3y equals minus 3. From here, I can subtract 3 on both sides. I'm going to have 3y is equals to minus 3 minus 3. So I have 3y. And of course, if you do this negative number addition subtraction, that's definitely going to be minus 6. And to get y, you need to divide minus 6 by 3. And definitely you're going to have minus 2. So in summary, x is 1.5 and y is minus 2. Now again, we have this, and we have to make the coefficient for b to be the same. And I can multiply the first equation by 3 and multiply the second equation by 2. That way, the coefficient for b shall be the same. So if I multiply the first equation by 3 and the second equation by 2, and when we do that, so 3 times 3a, that's 9a. 3 times minus 2b is minus 6b. And 3 times 14 is 42. And multiply the second equation by 2. 2 times 4a, you have 8a. And 2 times plus 3b, that's 6b. And 2 times 13 is 26. So what we're going to do is to draw a line underneath. And then look at the coefficient for b. We see they have the same, but different sign. And we always say when they have different sign, what you definitely do is to add along the column. So if you add 9a and 8a, you're going to have, I think you're going to have 17a, and 6b will cancel out 0, and then you have equals. And if you add this, you're going to have 68. And to get a, you have to divide 68 by 17, and definitely that's going to give you 4. So we know the value for a is 4. The next thing we want to do is to substitute this value for a4 for the first and the second equation, okay, with a. Now, again, whichever one you choose, you get the same answer for b anyway, you know that. But I think I want to use the second equation, okay? It's up to my choice. So if I take the second equation by substituting a with 4, that's going to be 4 times 4. 4 times 4 plus 3b equals 13. And then if I multiply 4 and 4, I get 16. And then I have plus 3b equals 13. From here, I'm going to subtract 16 on both sides. I'm going to have 3b equal 13, take away 16. And of course, if you write down this 3b down, and 13 take away 16 is definitely going to be minus 3. And to get b, you divide both sides by 3. So b definitely going to be minus 3 divided by 3, which is going to be minus 1. So in a summary, the value for a is 4, and the value of b is -1. And now we come to this one, and again, you can see that the coefficient of for y, well, they are not really the same. So, but we have to try and make them the same, and we can multiply the y by 7 and multiply the second equation for y 7 by 4. Okay, so that it can be the same. But remember, in doing that, you're not just multiplying the equation of y, you also multiply the equation of x and then every other number on the other side of equals. So if I multiply the first equation by 7 and the second equation by 4, but first, the first equation by 7, 7 times 5x, that's going to be 35x. 7 times 4, that's 28y. And put the equals, and 7 times 5, you're going to have 35. And then multiply the second equation by 4. 4 times 2x, that's 8x. 4 times 7y, that's 28y. And then equals, I'm going to multiply 29 times 4. I'm going to get 116. Now I can see that the coefficient for y are the same, okay? But the sign is the same sign also. So what that suggests, if you have the same sign here, okay, for the coefficient that is same, what you definitely will be doing is the opposite. You will be subtracting. Okay, I just want to put subtract. So you'll be subtracting along the column. So if you do 35, take away 35x, take away 8, I think you might be having 27x. And of course, you subtract this 28y minus 28y. That's definitely going to be 0. And then you have equal sign here. 35, take away 116, you're going to have minus 81. And now to get the value for x, you're going to divide both sides by 27. So x is going to be minus 81 divided by 27. And that's going to be minus 3. So we know the value for x is minus 3. So we've got to substitute this value for x either in the first equation or the second equation. I think the first is easier because the number is easy to manage. I'm going to substitute for x in the first equation. And that's going to turn something like 5 times x, which is 5 times minus 3, plus 4y, and is equals to 5. And 5 times minus 3 is minus 15, plus 4y equals 5. And I can add 5 and 15 on both sides to get rid of minus 15 here. So 4y is definitely going to be 5 plus 15. So you have 4y is equals to be 5 and 15 is 20. And to get y, you divide both sides by 4. So 20 divided by 4, definitely y is definitely going to be 5. So in summary, y is 5 and x is definitely, okay, s is definitely going to be 3. Okay, that's the value for x.